Have a good night, sweetie. We'll be back after midnight, my mom said. Don't forget we left extra candy in the basement in case you run out. I know, you told me like 6 times. Just go. Have fun, I'll be fine. They gave me one last worried look. As a 15-year-old, I had only been left home alone on rare occasions. My dad was giving me a distrustful sideways glance as if he didn't believe in my ability to remember basic instructions. Reluctantly, they began to descend the front steps and walk towards their car, wearing their couple's grease costumes. They were going to a Halloween party, which made what my dad said next slightly ironic. Okay, we're going. Remember, no parties, no girls, no drinking or drugs. Do lots of drugs, have unprotected sex, invite people over and get drunk. Okay, got it, thanks, bye. I shut the door behind them and was left alone. Finally, mercifully, peacefully alone. If you've ever been 15 years old, maybe you'll remember that wonderful feeling when your parents finally go out for the night and leave you alone to your own devices. It's magical. The sun had recently set and it was dark outside on the moonless night. Trick-or-treaters would soon be out, coming to the door in droves. It was my first night handing out candy, and I made sure to turn the porch light on so that kids knew it would be alright to come to the door. It was kind of exciting to be on this side of things for a change. I could eat as much candy as I wanted all night long while watching scary movies and playing video games. I had several horror flicks on my Netflix playlist ready to go. I tried to decide what to watch first, The Babysitter, Scary Movie, or The Ring. The night was still young, and I decided I didn't feel like committing to a movie just yet, so I sat down in my dad's comfortable faux leather recliner with the bowl of Halloween candy in my lap and pulled out my phone. I figured I'd watch a few TikToks, then pick a movie after that. I opened the app with one finger while nimbly unwrapping a Reese cup with my remaining digits. The video which popped up on my feed was dark, difficult to make out. It looked like the person recording it was in a forest, and then I saw concrete stairs and the familiar-looking wooden boards of a deck or a porch. I almost scrolled past it, but then noticed that the deck looked familiar, as did the front door in the video. Ding dong, ding dong. I paused the clip. The Reese cup remained uneaten in my hand. I put it to my lips to take a bite, thinking the kids outside could wait a minute. Ding dong, 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 ding dong. I got up from my chair, the piece of candy still whole, and stalked angrily to the door. Damn kids, couldn't just wait a minute? They'd break the doorbell if they kept attacking it like that. Swinging open the door, ready to yell at the brats, I looked down to see there was absolutely nobody there. Glancing around, I saw there were no trick-or-treaters anywhere nearby. No other houses were decorated either, I noticed for the first time. Mine was the only one. And it was pitch black outside now, I noticed. The porch light had apparently burnt out within the last few minutes, since it had just been working when I saw my parents off for the night. I closed the door and walked back to the recliner, my heartbeat now ticking just a little faster in my chest. Sitting down, I felt like I couldn't relax. My muscles were tense and stiff. A floorboard creaked above me from the second floor and I jumped, then told myself I was being foolish. It was probably just kids outside playing tricks. I leaned back in the recliner and tried to breathe. We had moved into the house that summer. It still felt strange and new to me. I had yet to get used to its quirks, the wheezing, moaning noises it made in the middle of the night, sounding ghostly and possessed. The whistling eaves and rattling shutters which sealed off the attic, sounding like bones shaking in the wind sometimes, or muffled screams. Holding my phone in my hand again, I unpaused the TikTok I had been watching. It had been close to the end of the video. The camera panned upwards, and I saw the person raising a black-gloved finger up to press a doorbell. Ding dong, ding dong. A familiar sound rang out through my cell phone speakers. In the video, nobody came to the door right away. The person began to press the bell again and again and again, faster and faster and faster. Ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, ding 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 ding. It was too similar for me not to notice the coincidence. It sounded like what had happened at my own front door just moments before. Although it was possible I was mistaken. Looking down at the bottom left of the screen, I saw it was a user who was unknown to me. The title of the video was Halloween Takeover, and it had just been posted a couple minutes before. Another creaking noise could be heard above me from the second floor, this time sounding more distinctly like footsteps bending the squeaky wooden floorboards. My heart began to pound faster and faster. I could feel it in my jugular and in my temple. My throat and mouth were dry, and I felt anxious and panicked, more and more with each passing second. With a trembling finger, I scrolled up on my TikTok feed, getting rid of the video and moving on to something else. Anything else. It had just been a coincidence, nothing more. I refused to acknowledge the possibility of it being something more sinister. That was next to impossible. The following video was a live feed, I noticed. Had the previous one been as well? I wasn't sure. It seemed highly possible that it could have been, and I just hadn't noticed. As it played, I noticed the familiar look of the person recording, looking at their black-shoed feet in the shadowy grass. Then suddenly they were standing on the stone tile porch at someone's back door. Someone else's house, I hoped, holding my breath. But those stone tiles looked very familiar, just like the wooden deck in the previous video had. This time there was no doorbell. They knocked with a heavy fist. Jumping up from my seat, I heard the sound coming from my back door a few moments before I heard it on the app, as if there were a slight delay as it traveled through the cellular network. There was no doubting it. They were at my back door. The same person who was recording the TikTok was right outside my house. Feeling suddenly full of righteous indignation, I ran to the back door to give the asshole a piece of my mind. It was probably some punk kid from my school trying to mess with me. I was pissed off they had gotten me so good. Swinging open the back door with a stinging retort ready on my lips, I looked outside into the night and saw, once again, there was nobody there. I stepped out in my bare feet, walking onto the grass and looking around for the person responsible. The door hung open behind me, and I paid no attention to it as I yelled out into the night. "Hey, I know what you're doing. You don't scare me, asshole. Come and get me." That last statement was one I would come to regret. Going back inside, I closed the door and locked it behind me. From where I stood, the stairs to the basement were just to the right, the stairs to the main floor straight ahead. The darkness down to my right teased me with its unknown horrors and the possibilities of what lurked within it, drenched in blackness as it was. But I ignored it and went up to the main floor, shuttering and closing the basement door behind me as quickly as I possibly could, feeling as if something would grab my ankle with a cold hand if I lingered for too long. There was a flimsy steel chain lock on the door separating the main floor from the rear exit and the cold dampness of the basement. We never used it, but this time I slotted it into position with my hands shaking badly. At least it would offer a modicum of security. But from what? That I still didn't know. It was beginning to occur to me that it wasn't necessarily a kid from my class doing this. It could be anyone. It could be a murderer. My knees buckled slightly as that thought crossed my mind. I went back to the living room and took a deep breath before sitting down in the recliner. Holding the phone in my hands, I debated calling my parents. I thought about how it would sound if I did. "Hey, Mom, I was on TikTok and I saw a scary video and they rang the doorbell in the video and then our doorbell rang a second later and there was nobody there and then somebody knocked at the back door and there was nobody there." It sounded delusional and paranoid and, well, childish. They would come home and she would say to my dad, "Well, I guess you were right. He really wasn't ready to be home alone by himself. Maybe next year." There was no way I was going to let that happen. Whoever it was, I could handle them. Getting up, I went down the hall to my room to grab my baseball bat. As soon as I got there and had it in my hands, the lights went out. The entire house was suddenly completely dark, eerily quiet, and lacking all machine noise. And of course, I had left my cell phone in the frickin' living room. With the bat in my hand, I started to feel my way along the wall, finding the doorway and going out of the room into the hallway. The entire house was dark, quiet, and empty as far as I could tell. But then why did I keep hearing the soft squeak of footsteps above me, coming from the second floor? Well, that decided it for me. I was going to call the police as soon as I got back to my phone. Slowly moving through the darkened space, I felt for the edges of the walls until I was in the kitchen, then moved past the locked basement door, feeling a sense of disquiet as I did so, as if there was someone waiting just on the other side. When I was right up against the basement door, I heard the sound of the knob turning, and goosebumps ran up my spine and covered my entire body. They were inside the house. The flimsy chain would only hold back just the barest effort, judging by the looks of it. I didn't have much time. Whoever was on the other side of that door was not a kid from my school. I had a very strong feeling about that. They sounded angry and insistent as they turned the doorknob back and forth and began to hammer and bang on the door. It rattled and shook in its frame. Running as fast as I could, no longer caring if I hurt myself at this point, I ducked out of the kitchen and over to the seat where I had left my phone. My intention was to grab it and call 911, but I didn't even get that chance. A loud crash echoed through the house, and I heard the sound of footsteps on the second floor, clearly now running towards the stairs that led to the ground floor. There was more than one of them in the house. My phone was blinking from where it lay on the recliner's armrest. I ran over to it in the pitch-black darkness, bashing my shin against the leg of a dining chair on the way. I finally reached it and unlocked it just as I heard the basement door break open with a loud bang. The only thought I could think to do at that moment was to turn on the flashlight. I needed to see what the hell I was dealing with. Luckily, I got it on quickly using a shortcut from the home screen, and it turned on, casting the room in a harsh white light. Walking over to the broken door, I saw there was nobody behind it. No culprit who could have caused the damage. My phone dinged, and I looked at the screen to see I had received a text message from someone. It was a link to a TikTok. I clicked on it. "Sorry about your door," a voice was saying in the video. It sounded ghostly and ethereal. "Do you have any more candy? That bag in the basement was mostly Tootsie Rolls and licorice. I hate licorice." My parents opened the door and found me shaking in the recliner. All the lights turned off, staring at my phone, watching that same video over and over again. It was our basement, and our candy stash. "Really? You sat here all night with the lights off, eating candy and watching TikTok on your phone?" my mom asked incredulously. "We're gonna have to talk about cutting back on your phone time, son. I would have thought you would at least give some candy out to kids, maybe watch a scary movie or something." My dad sounded a bit upset, but I was barely registering what he was saying. My mom was going down to the basement, I realized with a start. "Mom, don't go down there!" I yelled, but it was too late. "Yep, he ate all the candy down here too. You are in so much trouble, mister. I thought you didn't even like Tootsie Rolls." That was the night I learned that ghosts are real, and that once a year, on Halloween, they return to their earthly homes, to the places where they spent their fondest days. Our family had purchased the house from a couple who was downsizing after their kids passed away in a freak accident on a school trip. The son apparently loved TikTok and playing pranks on people. He also really loved candy, just not licorice, I guess. The daughter usually played upstairs in her room, was quiet, and didn't cause any trouble. Greg and Alice were their names I found out from my parents, who had found out from the neighbors. They found out some other details, too. Other past owners of the house, some more controversial than others. It's not Greg and Alice who keep me up at night on Halloween, terrified to sleep. It's the other one. The one Greg told me about. "He stays up in the attic. That's why it was boarded up," he whispered to me in the darkness after my parents had gone to sleep. "I didn't find out how scary he really was until I crossed the veil. You can see him up there waiting. Just don't ever unlock those doors or open those blinds. All he needs is a little breathing room, and he'll be out of there next Halloween. And you do not want to run into him. There's a reason he was locked up there to begin with." Halloween will be here again soon. In just a week or two. And my dad just decided to start renovations in the attic. The shutters are off for the first time in decades. The doors hanging wide open. He did it while I was at school. "We gotta let it air out," my dad told me with an unrecognizable grin, looking very much unlike himself. "We gotta let it breathe." Today's video was supported by patrons like Mark from Earth, Crimson Muse, Joy Burton, Diane Showers, Mark Sawall, Cheryl James, Pick Your Sticker, Teddy Dog, Clue 404, Mamakato, Dante Kincaid, Zarin Ray, Angela Donovan, Larry 50, Devin Kyle, Timothy Baird, Ajeti, Bert Turner, Bajani Espinal, Michael Pierce, Big Joe, Kerry Harkonnen, LaDonna Spivey, Scott Tanaka, Tom Stewart, Sherman Davis, Bryce Shelton, Susan McClendon, Elise Batiste, Lisa and the Cult Jam, Open Circuit, Fabulavore, Raymond Jaggers, That Darn Fox, Raisin Detra, Kai Gaming 099, Windy Burns, The Windigo, Michael Squishy Park. If you'd like to help support the channel, please consider joining my Patreon page at patreon.com/Jordan Group Horror. As a patron, you'll get access to bonus videos and content, as well as a Discord channel. You'll be credited at the end of every video going forward. And if you decide to stay for 3 months, I'll name a character after you, which will be featured in the next Hollow's End story. Links to join the Patreon are in the description. Thanks everyone for listening. Hope you like, subscribe, and comment to help the channel continue to grow. It really does help a lot. And see you again next time at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hope you have a great night.